Hi, everyone. Good afternoon. I'm so glad to be back and to review a new perfume today. We're going to talk about a tuberose fragrance. We're going to talk about Fracas from the house of Robert Piguet, and we'll talk a little bit about its history, and we'll talk about why it's so special and it has withstood the test of time. I'll tell you my own opinions on the scent and why I love it so much and why I recommend it, but at the same time, who it's for, who I have in mind when I think of this perfume and when I smell this perfume. So, Fracas is a very tuberose-centric perfume. Before I get into the history, let's talk a little bit about this flower. So, tuberose is a flower that is native to South America, primarily native to Mexico originally. And it's a white flower that the Aztecs already documented about. It's something that was used for millennia in Central America and specifically in the area of Mexico. And basically, it was discovered in 1735 is around the first times that it was documented in Europe when it was taken back to Europe. And the smell of this flower is extremely potent and extremely narcotic, meaning that when you smell it, you can have a really positive and visceral reaction to this fragrance. Importantly, it can be very awakening and very stimulating. So it's not a scent and it's not a flower that is flat. It is very lively, okay? And so this flower, when the Europeans colonized Central America, the colonizers went back to Europe with some tuberoses and planted shrubs everywhere in the south of France and Spain and Italy. There were tuberose fields, especially in Central America. In the Victorian era, that flower was taken to England and was planted in England. During the Victorian era, so we're talking, 18th, 19th century, during that time, the tuberose flower was believed to be dangerous for young ladies. It was forbidden for young women to actually walk in tuberose fields due to the belief that they would get too, rowdy or too excited, and that it would give them ideas to behave and passions to behave in a very non-ladylike manner. So it was forbidden. So that's how powerful this plant and this flower and this scent can be. It's very heady and very narcotic. So if you remember one of my videos about Poem a while ago, Poem has a little bit of tuberose. It's not tuberose centric, but it has a little bit of tuberose. So it has that headiness that some people can almost become addicted to. So now we're going to fast forward to France. I'm going to show you the bottle. So it's a very minimalistic bottle, a black bottle here with a sticker and a pink, square triangle. And it says Fracas de Robert Piguet. We're going to fast forward to France to the year 1947. So this is 1947, l'après-guerre, as we say in French. So after World War II, the world is slowly starting to awake again and to come out of this crisis that was World War II. And, the world is slowly awakening and booming. So women want to feel elegant. Women want to feel feminine and beautiful, which was very hard to achieve during the Second World War and the economic and social conditions that really affected the world. So finally, we're at a point where beauty and elegance and vanity, if you will, are back. So during those times, a few houses developed in France, and specifically I'm thinking of the boom of La Maison Dior, Christian Dior, and his house that really awakened the 1940s and 1950s style in France with his big dresses. And along those lines, you had another couturier, another designer, in English would say designer, Robert Piguet, who came up with very beautiful clothes and a line of perfumes. And he hired for this perfume a woman called Germaine Cellier, and I'm going to see if I can share my screen to show you, her pictures. There she is. It's a quick Google search. And so this is Germaine Cellier. And so she was, a French woman. And you have to remember that this industry at the time, and still to a certain extent nowadays, was very male dominated. It's a very male dominated industry to be a nose. Still, I mean, it's changing, but there's, still some areas that are more male-centric. So this is a very male-dominated industry at the time, and most industries at the time are extremely male-dominated. So this woman was a trailblazer. She was a pioneer. She's from the region of Gironde in France, and basically she moved where Bordeaux is, the wine, and so she moved to a boarding school in the suburbs of Paris, and she studied chemistry. And at the time, there was a degree called the Certificat d'études, which was kind of like an advanced, SAT that people took out of middle school, but the level was very high. So she specialized in chemistry. And after she finished her degree in chemistry, she started working a few gigs in, the chemical world, in the perfume industry in Paris. And then Robert Piguet hires her, the fashion house hires her to make a perfume for the house. And she comes up with Fracas. Fracas in French means a big noise, a collision. So if you slam a door, you would say claquer la porte dans un grand fracas, avec un grand fracas. It means a big noise, a big clash, will you? And so this is exactly what this perfume is. It was a big clash. It was the first time that such a heady narcotic perfume was created around tuberose. So if you think of French perfumes of the time, we think of obviously Chanel No. 5, Arpège by Lanvin, but this was breaking all the codes, right? It was breaking all the codes because it was very tuberose-centric and very heady and narcotic, which hadn't been created yet. It was a first. So it's a true marvel of creation. Nowadays, a lot of perfumes or copies are inspired by some perfumes, such as the case in art, and that's fine, but this was really a first. And so it became an institution, interestingly, abroad, the other side of the Atlantic in the United States, extremely famous with American ladies after the war. So, it is said that Marilyn Monroe, besides wearing No. 5, would also wear Fracas. And later on, what happened is that the fashion house went bankrupt, and it kind of died in France. And so what happened was that the perfume died with it. So it was extremely difficult to find it. Many years after, in the 80s, it was bought, the name Fracas and the label Robert Piguet perfumes, because they make other perfumes, was bought by another house. And what happened is that they recreated the formula, and Fracas was again available in the United States and in Europe, although it's less popular in Europe. So it is known to have been the signature scent of Madonna, of the singer Madonna, the pop star, of Martha Stewart, and of Courtney Love, the ex-partner or partner of musician Kurt Cobain. So it's definitely an emblem. And now let's spray it. So I became acquainted with Fracas in Florida, in Miami, in a department store called Neiman Marcus. And I had never actually heard of it. This was maybe 15, 20 years ago. And the first time I sprayed it, I said, oh my gosh, I don't know what this is, but I've got to have this. It smells so good. And I can definitely resonate with the Victorian prohibition of tuberose, because when I smell this, I wish my entire world, in fact, I wrote a review about this on Fragrantica, I wish my entire world could smell of this, not just as a perfume, but, as a candle, my house, my clothes, my car. I just love this scent. And so it smells floral, fresh, but also there's a candy-like aspect. It's not sweet, right? We're not talking about a gourmand here, but there's a candy-like aspect that warms it up a little bit. And it's extremely feminine. Perfume has no gender, but here I have to say, if you're a man and you wear this, you have to be okay with displaying that aspect of yourself, because it's extremely traditionally feminine, this flower-like scent. It is very clean also. It smells like clean women's skin. And you just took a shower with the most luxurious tropical flowers. Imagine, bathing in Hawaii and a waterfall with these tropical flowers and smelling like that. In fact, this scent is so, when I smelled this for the first time, it brought to my mind the idea of what one might smell in a luxurious resort, tropical resort, such as, a hotel in Hawaii or a lobby of a hotel in Miami. But, sometimes there's this diffuser that they use that smells just delightful and so magical. And I always wanted to know what they used. And when you smell Fracas, truly you will be reminded of that smell. So it's a very European perfume that's very tropical and very clean, and that has had extreme success in the American market. So what an interesting story, right? It was made by a trailblazer woman who then kind of disappeared in the history of noses, but really shouldn't have, because her work is unforgettable. It's completely unforgettable that this perfume was made in the 40s and is still relevant today. It does not smell like something that is aged or has aged. Now, you know how some perfumes, people might associate them with their grandmothers, which is, something that I personally dislike. When people say, oh, this smells like my grandmother, this smells like an old lady. The forbidden term amongst perfumers and perfume lovers is like the old lady designation. This does not smell like that. Although I don't like the designation, I can tell you this does not smell like that. Somebody who wouldn't know that this is from the 1940s. And that's the beauty, is that it is not dated, and yet it's from the past. So that's not the case. For example, for me, when I smell Chanel No. 5, it smells like Chanel No. 5, and it smells like it is from another decade, which is fine. If you want to smell like you're from another decade, sometimes I love smelling like the 90s, but this is not the case. This is something that still smells like the 2000s and the 2010s and the 2023s. This is something that, you walk into a hotel lobby and you will smell that and it smells delightful. Now, some people might not want to smell like a hotel lobby. Some people might not like that. It doesn't smell perfumey enough for them. In terms of projection and sillage, this perfume is a beast. So if you want to not be noticed, do not wear that. If you want to be noticed, however, this is something to wear. You will get compliments or you will get comments about your perfume. So in a very, aseptic and anesthetized perfume world like the US can be, one must be a bit careful about wearing this to work or wearing this to the supermarket, or like I said in other videos, to the vet, which is something I do often, trips to the vet. You have to be careful with that in a daily life. But if you're staying home and you just want to dive into the extraordinary world of Fracas and smell it for yourself and smell your linens, or just enjoy it for yourself, by all means, be my guest. Now, another occasion where one could wear Fracas is for an outing at night or during the day, late afternoon in the summer. Those tropical flowers truly bloom. So wonderful, wonderful perfume. Not for the daytime if you're in social work professional situations, but it's truly a masterpiece. It's heady, it's buttery also. In perfume, we use the word buttery when it's rounded. There's not citruses that are sparkly. No, rounded and buttery is close to the skin and not sparkly. So that's what it kind of means. So please, you can find this on the internet. Please, I invite you to discover this perfume. Get a sample. It's not for everyone, but if you love tuberose, you love tuberose. It's kind of like cilantro. Some people do not like cilantro. Some people think it tastes like soap or horrible. But in my case, I love cilantro and I love fracas. So thank you very much for listening. And I hope that you will smell fracas and tell me in the comments what you think. Have a lovely day.